Hi, everybody. Hope you're doing marvelously well. I thought let's do a video featuring some plugins. We did one recently talking about Mac DSP. We've done plenty with other great companies, Waves, and there's more coming up. But I wanted to do a feature on our good friends at Leapwing Audio. You probably know their plugins because I do use them all the time when we do the mixing in the box. And of course, we've talked about them in the past. But I'm going to do an overview of all the plugins and you can make up your own mind. But I love the company and I love the products, and I know lots of you do too. So let's get stuck in. So they have 4 plugins that we use. There's RootOne, DynOne 3, CenterOne, and StageOne. So RootOne is the one that you've seen me demo recently. And what we love about this is it adds all of this different sub-harmonic frequencies. Let's open it up and check it out. So I've got a song here you've heard me use a few times before. I like this song because it's a combination of live drums with program stuff, live guitar parts, some program keys. It's fun to mix. So when we get to the chorus on this song,
Backseat, lay me down. I ain't no sleaze that you found.
start on the drums. I added this sub kick because it's like a dance feel. If you hear about the dance kick, you've got this. Add the dance kick. Now you're focusing on that. Listen to it with the full band.
Backseat, lay me down. I ain't no sleaze that you found.
Mute the sub kick in the track.
Pull your socks off, I get it, boy. Won't get your rocks off.
Bring it back in. Okay, so I'm illustrating that because let's just see what RootOne can do. So let's solo the drums. I've muted the sub kick. And here is the live kick. Got a lot of air on it. Throw in a sample. That's all about the attack and the point. So those 2 elements give us the kick. So if I take that live kick, for instance, so here's back to the live. And let's open up RootOne on that. So many of you know I use the DBX 120 sub-harmonic synthesizer when I'm mixing on the console, either in a hybrid fashion or just directly through the console. This has a lot of those characteristics because it has multiple bands. What I love about it is this. If we listen, I can solo. Now, 36 hertz just happens to be where I have my sub-harmonic synthesizer set. So take that as solo and listen in. A bit more. It's bypass. The thing about the sub-kick is it's definitely electronic. But what I like about this is I'm now going to get that additional low end that I want without it sounding like an electronic kick put against it. So let's listen to that with the track.
Backseat, lay me down. I ain't no sleaze that you found. Think you're gonna pull your socks off. Get it, boy. Won't get your rocks off.
Bypass it.
Backseat, lay me down. I ain't no sleaze that you found.
Bring it back in.
Think you're gonna pull your socks off. Get it, boy. Won't get your rocks off.
There's so many of you out there that want to get great drum sounds without utilizing a lot of drum samples. And sub-harmonic synthesizers are there. They're great to add like some super, super low lows. But that's a hardware option, and that's not available for everybody. Not everybody can break out of their IOs and go through all of these different things. So I really do think that this is rather wonderful. Bypass. I mean, it's really pretty powerful. We have a mono keyboard bass here, and it's just using vacuum. Now, we'll select a different frequency. Let's go, for me, 80 to 100 in that kind of area is my favorite area for subs on a bass. I don't want to boost the area that we just boosted on the kick. That would be nonsense. It would just cause a whole bunch of issues. But now I'm boosting Yeah, let's go up a little higher. We'll go up to 80. Bypassed. Back in. It's pretty powerful. Throw in the drums. It's going to be a really powerful way to define your low end. Something we haven't looked at, because this is a super clean synth bass line, is this function here, where I can drive it. There's also a decay control, which I think is very useful with low end, because you don't always want that decay to go too long, but then there'll be other times when maybe it's just triggering simple, staccato notes and you actually want it to sustain. So you can change the decay there. The dynamics is a really good function. I think in this instance, because it's a keyboard bass, I'll leave the dynamics where they are. But what I like about this function is if you have a bass guitar, you can reduce the dynamics so that essentially you're getting a really consistent low end going the whole time. So a little bit of drive in it, left to decay where it was. Bypassed. Bring it back on. Turn down a bit.
Backseat, lay me down. I ain't no sleaze that you found. Think you're gonna pull your socks off. Get it, boy, won't get you.
Really great for shaping a low end. You can get in there, you can focus on what you want to do with the bass and with the kick. With organic instruments, like a bass that, has a ton of low end on one note, disappears on another. Controlling the dynamics on it means you're going to get a consistent low end pumping the whole time. Saves you having to use additional compression and EQ, etc. Next up, we have DynOne 3, which is a 5-band parallel compressor, meaning I can bring a ton of energy into the track. So I'm going to do that with these guitars. So the functionality of this plugin is insane. We could do a 45-minute video just on this plugin alone. Let's have a listen here. Because you can solo every single one of these bands. They're fully adjustable. I can change the frequencies here. It's pretty crazy what you can do with this thing. You've got compression control on each individual band. You've got your threshold here. You've got the ratio. You've got the attack and release times. Then you've got... It is ridiculous how much control. In this video where I'm touching on all the plugins, I'm not going to be able to get into half of it. But you know me, what does it sound like? That's the most important thing. So I'm going to turn the reverb off. Let's give it a listen. Bring it on. Some of those low mids came forward, matching the output. So that's just generically set. What I like about that is it tucks in those high mids a little bit. For instance, have a listen to those high mids. Not a huge amount going up there. So I can unlatch this here and turn it down. So just bring it out entirely. Go here. So if we go to these frequencies here, oh, I see it's still latched, so unlatch it there. So I'm really getting far more aggressive on the compression here. So what's interesting about this band here, let's unlatch it. It's kind of ugly, but I like it. It's already feeling like an alternative to, because it's a controlled EQ. I mean, essentially, yes, it's parallel EQs, but I can get in there and just shape the sound. And those mids. Getting up to a more usable area. Well, like what it's doing there, it's dancing around those mids. I'm trying to bring up those kind of mid, kind of that's kind of bouncing around. Bypass.
Pull your socks off, I get it, boy. Won't backseat, lay me down. I ain't no sleaze that you found. Think you're gonna pull your socks off, I get it, boy. Won't get your rocks off. Backseat, lay me down.
Remarkably better. Remarkably better. So, there it is in bypass. Here's it in. No real perceptible volume difference. I'll bring it down ever so slightly. So this should be pretty even. But now it's got more of that honky mid-range and none of that top end, that fizzy top end. Let's listen to it, even though now the volumes are pretty similar, but the EQ's been addressed differently with that extra compression, just kind of rounding it out. Trust me, I'm just scraping the surface of how incredible this plugin is. So listen to with and without the DynOne in, and you'll see how the guitars are like jumping out of the mix now.
Backseat, lay me down. I ain't no sleaze that you found. Think you're gonna pull your socks off, get it, boy.
They've disappeared.
Backseat, lay me down. I ain't no sleaze that you found. Think you're gonna pull your socks off, get it, boy. Won't backseat, lay me down. I ain't no sleaze that you found. Think you're gonna pull your socks off, get it.
They just disappear into the keyboard without that on. So it was just great. I mean, the thing is, we can shape that with the EQ. Of course we can. We can take some of that honky mid-range and shape it. But here what we're doing is we're parallel compressing the band and then squishing it underneath. So it's being introduced back in, giving it more energy in that area, which of course you could do with multibands or dynamics. The thing about parallel is it keeps the original dynamic signal and then puts that energy underneath. It makes the track just feel more of. I love parallel compression anyway, and then of course EQ dependent parallel compression is going to give you just that little bit more energy. And it's interesting because there's no perceptible volume difference before and after using the plugin. However, it pokes its head out in the mix more. Great plugin. Have fun with it. Try out the demo and see what you think. So let's check out CenterOne next. Some of you will know that I'm not big on the widening plugins, especially Academy members. You know, we talk about it all the time. CenterOne is not the widening plugin as such, but what it is the plugin that allows you to control your left and right and your center individually. The last plugin we're going to talk about, StageOne, does all the widening stuff really tastefully, but CenterOne is tasteful because you can get in there and you can control what frequencies you want to push and pull, in particular in the center. You could go in and just select the low end, or you can go into something like some high mids and select that for vocal regions and snare drums and all that stuff, and we'll show all of that. Big fan of CenterOne. Let's check it out. So here it is on the mix bus.
Backseat, lay me down. I ain't no sleaze that you found. Think you're gonna pull your socks off, get it.
Unlink it and bring down the center. I mean, a remarkable tool.
Backseat, lay me down. I ain't no sleaze that you found. Think you're gonna pull your socks off, get it, boy. Won't get your
I can't think of a more useful tool for a mastering engineer. I did a charity project for my good friend, God rest his soul, Mr. Dick Wagner, and it was for St. Jude's Children's Hospital, and we got the master back, and the mastering engineer, God bless them, had tried to make it sound a little wider. However, it was dizzying. And this was a well-known mastering engineer. If they really wanted to widen it, this would have been a much better way. But you can hear here just how subtle and how much better you can make it. So I've got this to set it back. We've unlinked it. Let's just set it back and have a listen. Bring the center down. So what's happening there, I'm bringing it down. The lead vocal's coming down and the kick and snare's coming down. But let's just say you're mastering something and you want the vocal down. You could use this to just duck down the center and then maybe introduce a tiny bit more 60 hertz to reinforce the kick that's just come down, a little bit more 80 on the bass guitar that's just come down, and you've got a way to bring down the vocal. It's pretty miraculous, and combination of tools, and you can rebalance mixes in a really tasty way. But I think what most people will probably want this for is to actually do the opposite and bring out the left and right. So often now, people are mixing so aggressively loud that the sides start folding in and everything gets really mushy. Bring up the left. I mean, rebalancing left and right is going to be so much nicer. It's just a really, really nice way to control your stereo imagery without messing with the phase. We can get frequency selective here. Maybe go into a sort of vocal area. So now what it's doing is it's pushing up their center, and it's the snare that's coming up quite dramatically. So snare and vocal came up without bringing up that kick drum. So combination of factors. We could add that little extra 60 in there. We can make the kick bigger if we want. We can come down and pull up the center low. So let's go down, I don't know, about 150 down. Push that up. Let's put it on 0. Great. So if our mix was a little bit low end light and we wanted to push what was going on in the center, kick and bass, that was absolutely perfect for it. If I wanted to just add some sub frequency in there just in the center, again, great. The thing is, you might not want to add low information in the sides because you add them in the sides and it starts to feel very blurred. You want that to be in the center. And sort of the opposite on the left and right. You might want to go in the left and right and, mess with that. So look, I've done a little bit. Let's go back to the original idea where I'm in the vocal area and I'm going to push it just a little bit. Bypass. Great idea. I've seen a lot of videos recently talking about how to get your vocal to sit in a mix and all of that kind of stuff. And a lot of them are all about frequency cutting and getting these kind of sidechain pumping effect when the vocal comes in and it reduces the whole track. Not the smartest way of working. You want to solve those kind of issues inside of your mix. You want to create room for your vocal to sit without continually trying to automate all of those functions. However, there are instances when you have to do that. But sometimes when that's done too dramatically, like I've heard a lot recently, this tool might come in to fix it. So you might want to have this available on your master bus, just a little touch of it, just to see if you feel the vocal and the snare's not kind of popping out just a little bit. And no matter what you do, the snare's getting a little lost, the vocal's getting a little lost in here. Maybe a very small amount of what I just did here, like just a little push here.
Backseat, lay me down. I ain't no sleaze that you found. Think you're gonna pull
Bypass
your
it.
socks off. Get it, boy, won't get your rocks
Back on.
off. Backseat, lay me down. I ain't no sleaze.
It's just tasty. It just puts the vocal just up a little bit, snare bite a little bit, and on really super dense mixes, that might be a lifesaver. Ultimately, having a lot of tools and knowing how to use them is the great thing. We talk about this a lot, commitment and intent. If you know your tools, like this peripheral, quick, easy view of this tool actually makes it very useful for me. When I would come to mix, I might just go, look, I know what this does really well. It's really good for the center, really good for pinpointing high mids, etc. This is something back of my mind. I know what I'm going for. I know my intention, and I know to go and reach for something like this. Last but not least is StageOne. So StageOne really is that magic plugin. We talked about how CenterOne can help you bring up the sides, control the center, and how I like it because it's a way to kind of get width and control over your center without causing any phase issues. Well, StageOne is that on acid because it actually can increase the width. Again, great for mastering engineers, great for people mixing really loud, powerful EDM, heavy rock, anything that's super dense and they're trying to get the extra kind of width and depth out of it. This is a plugin for you. But I also think it's going to be great for things like synths. So I'm going to put it on the mix in a second, but I've got a stereo width plugin here, which is the Air, which comes stock with Pro Tools. And let's have a listen with and without it. Without it, pretty tame. There's some width going on, but quite often with pads and strings, especially electronic ones, not ones I've got control over individual elements and I can't pan them around, I'll end up using widening tools. I don't like using widening plugins because they all mess with the phase. The thing is, StageOne does not. Pretty comprehensive tool here. I'm going to open this up for the screen just to let you all know, because I know that's a question that comes across everybody's mind is like, can you expand them? Yes, you can. So I've got mono, spread, depth, and width here. Let's have some fun with this. Really brought up those sides nicely. I like it to be in the pure mid-range. So I'm moving the center to the left, to the right. Keep it there. Bypass. So what I love about that is I've now got all this extra movement on the left and right, which I didn't have before. Let's have a listen on the whole track.
Backseat, lay me down. I ain't no sleaze that you found. Think you're gonna pull your socks off. Get it, boy, won't get your rocks off. Backseat, lay me down. I ain't no sleaze that you found. Lay me down. I ain't no sleaze that you found. Think you're gonna pull.
I like that emphasis there.
I ain't no sleaze that you found. Think you're gonna pull your socks off. Get it, boy, won't backseat, lay me down. I ain't no sleaze that you found. Think you're gonna pull your socks off. Get it, boy, won't get your rocks off. Backseat, lay me down.
I've gone full range on the center here.
Pull your socks off, get it, boy, won't get your rocks off. Backseat, lay me down. Ain't no sleeves that you found. Think you're gonna pull your socks off, get it, boy, won't get your rocks off.
Now, I hear no perceptible phasing whatsoever. I don't get that uncomfortable feeling when I'm hearing mixes that have got these stereo widening things on them, and they just feel really disconcerting, and I can't tell where the guitar is coming from because it's sort of coming from the left and the right and all at the same time. Pretty darn good. I think just for schnitz and schniggles, this really put this to the test. I'm going to put it on the full mix.
Backseat, lay me down. Ain't no sleeves that you found. Think you're gonna pull your socks off, get it, boy, won't get your rocks off. Backseat, lay me down. Ain't no sleeves that you found. Think you're gonna pull your socks off, get it, boy, won't. Backseat, lay me down. Ain't no sleeves that you found. Think you're gonna pull your socks off, get it, boy, won't get your rocks off. Backseat, lay me down. Ain't no sleeves that you found.
Now, obviously, the great thing about the high pass, of course, is we can get it so that we can choose, say, less than 200 or something like that. So low end bass guitar, kick, maybe some of the low end on the guitars, the synths or whatever can stay mono, and everything else.
Backseat, lay me down. Ain't no sleeves that you found. Think you're gonna pull your socks off, get it, boy, won't get your rocks off. Backseat, lay me down. Ain't no sleeves that you found. Think you're gonna pull your socks off, get it, boy, won't. Backseat, lay me down. Ain't no sleeves that you found. Think you're gonna pull your socks off, get it, boy, won't get your rocks off. Backseat, lay me down. Ain't no.
That's really good. It's giving me so much more depth. Have an A-B of it.
Backseat,
Off.
lay me down. Ain't no sleeves that you found. Think you're gonna pull your socks off, get it, boy, won't
Bring it
get
in.
your rocks off. Backseat, lay me down. Ain't no sleeves that you found. Think you're gonna pull your socks off, get it, boy, won't. Backseat, lay me down. Ain't no sleeves that you found. Think you're gonna pull your socks off, get it, boy, won't get your rocks off. Backseat, lay me down. Ain't no sleeves that you found. Think you're gonna pull your socks off, get it, boy, won't.
Absolutely fantastic plugin. I feel like I've got more front to back. I feel I've got more width, but I don't feel like somebody put it through some kind of mangler and it came out the other side like, it just feels like I mixed it a little better. I'm always looking when I'm mixing with plugins and entirely in the box as we're doing here to get that feeling that you get when you go through consoles and external gear. And as many people have said over the years, a lot of it is to do with the different sort of the fact that every channel on a console is slightly different and has slightly different phase relationships and all kinds of different things that create this sort of separation and depth and all of that kind of good stuff. When you're in the box, everything is perfect. We're in a digital world. Everything is zeros and ones and absolutely wonderful. And I've made it my mission to talk about randomizing things, you know, talking about different distortions and saturations and short delays and long delays and taking reverbs and pitching them down and all these things that we talk about in our videos to make stuff sound less perfect and digital. I like this because I think you can put it on your mix, play around with it, and just give yourself some depth. It doesn't ever go into weird, crazy, unusable world where everything is like super wide, super left, all this, but totally out of phase and completely impossible to listen to. It's a very tastefully designed, very simple to understand, mess around with it, make it sound good plugin. Across the whole range, that is what Leapwing are about. They tend to spend a long time designing plugins and getting them right. And then like with DynOne, they come back and they tweak them and they make them better still. Good people, great products. Thank you ever so much for watching. Please go and try them out. I think they do a pretty long extended, period where you can download them and try them. And they're really good guys. So try them out. Let us know what you think. Have a marvelous time recording and mixing. And we'll speak to you all again very soon. So long, farewell, auf Wiedersehen, au revoir, adios, goodbye.